My name is Brother Jihad Muhammad. I'm from this city, the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Alrighty. Before this interview, you told me about a situation that you was involved in when you was 14 years old. Can you share that with us and kind of go into details of what happened, or not what happened, just kind of how did it change your life and how did you come out of that situation?
You know, I grew up in this city, and I come from a family of five. It was five children. I had three older brothers, and of course, I had a sister that was older than me. In 1988, my father was killed. At that time, him and my mother were not together, but he was the father figure or the manly figure to myself, my siblings, my sister. And that very year that he was killed, my oldest brother, who was young, maybe 15, 16, he ended up going to prison that year after becoming a quote-unquote gangster disciple. My next to the oldest brother ended up going to the reform school, what they used to call the Knock Nelson Juvenile Center at that time.
Okay.
And from there, that very year, the family, our family, was literally torn apart. I started in third grade, skipping school, stealing, becoming a quote-unquote gangster disciple myself. And over a period of time of getting kicked out of school, going to school, changing school districts, my mother being, of course, a single low-income parent, we moved around the city quite a bit. So I had, I don't know whether we would call it an opportunity, but I stayed on all of the sides of town in Pine Bluff, east side, west side, north side, etc. And I guess when I became about 11 or 12 years old, I got in trouble, and I ended up going to the Alexander Youth Service Center, what we call the training school. And I was sentenced to 6 months there, and I ended up doing, I think, 4 months and 13 days. I got out, and during the time I got out, my great-grandfather had passed. So my auntie and many of my family members from my father's side of the family were in town from California. My auntie really thought I was a really respectful young man, so she took me back to California with her for the summer. And as I was in California, my next to the oldest brother was out, and then my oldest brother, who had been incarcerated from a very young age up until that time, I think this is like 92, he was out. So for the first time, all of my mother's children were out. They were not locked up. So I rushed back to Pine Bluff to be with my siblings. A little time went on. Of course, my oldest brother left and went back to prison. Other brother went to Job Corps, and I was introduced to what we call the dope gang, or selling crack cocaine. I think I was 13, 14 years old at that time. So of course, when you're out and you're selling drugs, one of the main concerns that you have is being robbed. Being out there selling drugs come with a mentality that you got to be hard. So in selling drugs at 13 going into 14, I started carrying guns. So I carried guns, went into clubs. I always hung around older people. Younger people, to me, from the street side, they were not as aware as I was as a street person. I could see things and perceive things that my peers, as it relates to my age, probably would not have understood. So I got into to selling drugs, got into toting guns, going into clubs. And every club I entered in this city, older people, 21, 22, 23, in some cases in their 30s, many who were twice my age, got me into those clubs. So they initially took me into the clubs, and then of course the owners, seeing me with them, would eventually, without even a second thought, allow me to come into those clubs sometime by myself. I was still going to school. Of course, at this time, I was in the alternative school, which was on 6th Street. And what was crazy about that situation is that I ended up being in the alternative school as a punishment. You know, that's somewhere you go, they say, you're not acting right in regular school. The regular school, people don't want you there, so they give you this alternative school to go to.
Yeah, another option to go to school too.
And so I ended up being in alternative school, but the circumstances that led me to be in alternative school left me angry, bitter, and full of resentment. Because what I was accused of and what I was even being punished for, I was not guilty of, and nobody came to my aid, not even my mother, and said, well, we're kicking you out of this school. You need to come back with your parent if you want to go to school to the school district. And so they came and quote unquote made their case against me, and I was sent to that school. So I went there being angry, upset, and bitter.
So you was toting guns and still attended school and still in the streets hustling in the dope game altogether.
Yeah. So I was actually when I went into it was Jack Roby at the time. Went into Jack Roby school, and I was kicked out of Jack Roby. Remember, I'm telling you, I'm being kicked out for something I'm not guilty of. That's when I got into selling drugs. That's when I got into not carrying a gun periodically, but carrying a gun every day and clubbing and etc. Now I'm saying that because sometimes when children are mislabeled, mistreated, abused, and they have no advocate when they are in the right, that's a critical psychological developmental issue that can turn that child in a direction that that child otherwise probably would not even go in. So I ended up from that school, going to school, and I never got kicked out of the alternative school. The teachers who were there respected me, and they knew how to deal with me in a way that I would be respectful to them. So my experience in alternative school was with teachers or educators who were in tune with the condition of the students they were trying to teach.
Oh, so it was a common ground.
Total different mentality. Total different.
The teaching
mentality.
style, the conversation style, how they approach you, everything was different because they understood what you was going through.
Right.
Okay.
They were a little bit more sensitive to to the circumstances surrounding the students who were there.
Okay. So the whole situation when you was 14 with the tell me about those charges that you.
So I ended up one night, of course, getting high, smoking weed, drinking, and went to a club, and me and my partner eventually ended up killing a man, shooting a man 7 times. And we were pointed out as the last persons seen with this guy. I was 14 at the time. My partner, who was with me, was 18. So of course, we ended up being charged with that, and eventually, 7 days after being arrested, I was initially sent to the West Helena Detention Center as a juvenile. Within 7 days, the police department picked me up, Pamela Police Department picked me up and transported me to the adult jail and the juvenile part, and then I was arraigned on that Monday. Even though I was just 14, I was arraigned as an adult on the first-degree murder charge. So I was fortunate enough. Of course, the bond was much lower than bonds are now. So I was fortunate enough, or unfortunate, either one, to get out on bond.